Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Got to give a shout out to my buddy Origami of the T3 podcast for bringing this to my attention, because this is something that I actually missed completely. Apparently, this happened years ago, and I guess I'm the last person to know. But I wanted to talk about it because obviously, I do some commentary stuff on here as well as tokusatsu related news, things like that. So I think this is a perfect instance where these things kind of align to talk about. So I have here before you a gentleman by the name of Alpha Genesis, who was an interesting, interesting individual. No longer has a channel here on the platform. I believe his channel got terminated a while ago. But there's this video by DankNet, which I'll link in the description below. That's where this clip comes from, because I couldn't find the original clip of when this happened. But I thought it'd be interesting to talk about, because we have an instance where a guy who is either trolling or completely delusional and thinks he's some kind of a tough guy because he watched, and I'm not kidding, apparently he watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers growing up and thought that based on the fact that he watched these shows or things that had martial arts in them, that somehow was enough for him to go into a martial arts school and spar someone. He thought that would be enough for him to be able to hang with somebody who's practiced in the martial arts more than he has. So let me go ahead and play this video here, and then we'll just a little bit, I guess I'll give a little bit more of a backstory. So this guy, he went to Jason David Frank's school. That's a name that should be familiar to you if you are a fan of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Of course, that was Tommy, the original Green Ranger. Of course, he's also played other Rangers throughout the course of the series. But he has a martial arts school in Texas. And this guy, who grown up a fan of Power Rangers, again, thought that was enough. Him watching the show was enough for him to pick up on the martial arts. Was also a very big fan of Jason David Frank. So he decided to go to his school to, test his mettle against one of the other students there. And I'll let the clip do the rest of the talking here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick.
I hate Jason David Frank. He is the biggest cum guzzler I've ever met in my life. If you don't know who this young man is, he was the Green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger back in the 90s. And he was also a bunch of fucking other Power Rangers. In other words, he likes to wear spandex because he's a cunt. And he's a fucking idiot, dude. I fucking hate his face.
You can probably guess right now where this is going, and it's going to be glorious.
I met him at his stupid martial arts studio he has here in Kingwood, Texas, called Rising Sun Karate. Cha. In like MMA.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm an MMA dude too. I went over there to his karate place one time just because I love Power Rangers. That's a rad series.
Just real quick, as we know, yeah, Jason David Frank also was did do a couple MMA matches, a couple amateur and a couple pro fights. Hasn't done any in several years at this point. I'm not sure if he's ever going to go down that route again, but it's a guy, lifelong martial artist. So
I'm not gonna hate on Power Rangers. Like, I set up an appointment.
well, at least he can separate character from the person.
Spar on with someone. And the guy was the biggest piece of shit I ever met in my life, man. His name was Jason Felton. And this scrawny ass, ugly looking motherfucker was such a douchebag to me, man. He was like, I don't know what it was, dude. He was just being really like hostile, like in a weird, manipulative way, because...
Now, this other guy that he's talking about is, I believe, the person that he had this sparring match with, this Jason Felton guy, who I believe was a student at that school, if I'm not mistaken.
I like karate, and he thought that I was an idiot because I like karate and shit like that. Like, closed-minded MMA bullshit. And, like, I was like, well, okay, I'll still spar with this guy because he's a nut job, and I want to fuck him up because he pisses me off.
Okay,
I mean, that kind of goes against the tenets of martial arts, right? That's the worst reason, I think, to not only learn martial arts. Of course, they say martial arts should be for defense only. But I guess to Alpha Genesis, it's something to use against somebody that just makes you angry, which is awful. So I mean, you can see already he has kind of the wrong attitude, and that's why when he went into the situation that he got himself into, it's no surprise what the inevitable outcome was going to be. Now, I have to say this is all alleged because I've never heard of Jason David Frank himself ever telling this story, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does end up being true. We can only take, I guess, this guy's word for it that this happened, Alpha Genesis, the guy pictured here. So let's continue on with this video here.
Maybe kind of confusing because he's talking about two different Jasons.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll clarify. So the legend goes like this. Jared rolls up to an MMA gym, trained and operated by the Green Ranger, Jason David Frank, the actor who played the actual Green Power Ranger from the 90s TV show. He actually has a background in professional martial arts and opened up a gym. Jared comes in and starts to flaunt around his YouTube mastery in Targ Fu, and the Green Ranger sensed this was Jared's time to shine, and he summoned his apprentice. Or just some other dude who's conveniently named Jason, and he set up a fight to test the true power of Malor Genesis.
Now, real quick, I want to say this, okay, and why I believe there could be some truth to this, because I've seen Jason David Frank not only on social media, but at conventions, during panels and things like that, talk about how seriously he does take the martial arts. Say, whatever opinion you have about Jason David Frank, that seems to be something that is consistent with him, is how seriously he takes the martial arts. So I can imagine that somebody coming around his school saying, hey, I could probably take on some of the guys that practice at your school would be something he'd probably take offense to and be like, hey, martial arts is a serious thing. It's something that requires discipline, something that you got to take years and years to learn and practice to become good at. And he probably took that as a slight, if all this is true, because it would be within character for Jason David Frank to take that as a slight, that some guy's coming around saying that he could take some of his students and doesn't really have, or at least seemingly doesn't have, the credentials to back up any of his claims, or has just been coming around talking smack, saying that he could do this, that, or the other. That probably did rub him the wrong ways. All right, let's see how good you really are. Let me get you on the mat with one of my students, and let's see how good you really are. Let's see if you can talk, outside of just talking the talk, if you could walk the walk. And like I said, it's no surprise to find out what happened next. Again, if all this did happen, because as I said before, I don't know for a fact that all this happened. We only have Alpha Genesis' word to take for it. But like I said, take that for what it is. It's entertaining if it did happen, right? So let's go back.
I got in the ring, and I'll admit, I just choked, dude. I froze because it was my first time sparring, and he was pretty fucking tall.
His first time sparring, he should have known better. Okay, this is people that have never sparred before have no business getting into a ring, getting on the mats with anybody that have been practicing martial arts either for years or for their entire life. So I don't know. Okay, let's go back.
So he beat my ass, man. He beat.
Well, yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Redheaded stepchild. But it pissed me off so bad because Jason Frank, this so-called really respectable, fucking 10th degree black belt motherfucker, he didn't stop the fight, dude. He watched me get pounded. He watched me take every hit from this stupid ass fucking little college fret boy, man. This fucking retard kid.
He probably laughed his ass off while this is happening. You gotta understand, you came into his school, okay? You came into his school and you kind of disrespected, like I said, in a sense, because, Jason David Frank, like I said, takes the martial arts very seriously, so he probably felt that you not only were disrespecting his school, but were disrespecting the martial arts in general with your cavalier attitude about it. So he probably... To me, it sounds like you were learning a lesson in humility. I've seen this happen tons of times. As somebody who actually practiced martial arts before myself in the past, I can tell you, I've seen this happen before, where a guy comes in off the street into a martial arts class, thinks that they could spar with people. They've come right in and have tried to spar with people, and very quickly they learn that if they don't actually know anything, that if they're just really strong guys, or think that they're really smart guys that might be able to concoct a way to outsmart somebody that has been, like I said, practicing martial arts for their entire life or for at least a few years. They learn really quick that without any kind of formal training, they really don't stand a chance. So,
I'm not gonna lie to you, I would have paid money to see this. Just picture that for a second. Jared walks in there, starts throwing up a crane stance, and then he gets the jaundice beaten out of him by some skinny Brit bone, while the actual Green Ranger watches from the sidelines.
I didn't say anything because I was mainly just like fucking shocked and like weirded out by the whole.
I mean, what'd you think was gonna happen?
Situation. But like Jason Frank, dude, he was like a dick about it. He's like, you should not be fighting with your level of experience. And I was like, fuck you, man. I learned my shit on YouTube.
And that's why you got your ass whooped, because you weren't formally trained. And look, like I said, feel how you feel about Jason David Frank. Obviously, I have my criticisms of him, but I have to agree with him on this point. You had no business rolling up to his school, talking all the smack that you did, and trying to, test yourself against somebody that was more seasoned than you. It was only a matter of time. And this is what happens when people think that they're internet tough guys, that they can learn stuff, and all of a sudden they think they're some kind of savant, some kind of Rain Man, that they could just pick stuff up by watching it. A lot of times, look, that can help, but it really takes you putting stuff into practice and getting very good at it, right? Just practicing it over and over again to see whether or not it's going to be effective. And the best way to do that is with formal training in the martial arts. So, yeah, look, this guy had it coming. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I thought it was pretty funny. I wanted to talk about this because when it first, like I said, when this first happened, and apparently this happened years ago, I kind of missed the boat on it. So I wanted to kind of talk about it now. But what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think of Alpha Genesis and his attempt to go into Jason David Frank's school and try to actually fight somebody that was formally trained in the martial arts, thinking that being a fan of Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and apparently learning martial arts just off of YouTube, what was he thinking? I mean, what was the guy thinking? The guy's got to be absolutely delusional. He was either trolling or he's just, man, maybe the guy's just crazy. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I thought this was hilarious, and I just wanted to share it with all of you. So I'll catch you guys on the next video.